Go back. Heard this story a million times. What else can I learn from this? You guys ever hear stories or learn things at school, hear lessons at school, and you hear them over and over and over, and you think,
Yes, sir.
why do I have to hear this 5,000 times, right?
So that way you don't forget it.
So you don't forget it? Okay,
And
that's good.
I'm probably just forgetting things.
That's good.
You can
Yeah,
miss
like
something.
Captain.
Because you might miss something. Have you ever read a story or heard a story, and you've heard it a bunch of times, and then you come back and you read it and you think about it in just a little bit a different way,
More complicated.
and you learned something new about it?
I had to do it
Yes.
with the
You
Hobbit.
ever? What's that?
I had to do it with the Hobbit.
With The Hobbit?
We had to read it for class, and I got confused.
Yeah. And then you read it again and then understood it a little bit
So
better?
I didn't read it again. I just went back through the chapter.
Oh, I got you. All right. Sometimes when we hear the same story, oh, I'll wait, guys. I promise I can wait. All right? I really don't want to talk over you. Sometimes we hear stories over and over and over, and we think, oh, okay, here it is, Christmas time again. I'm going to hear the story again about the birth of Christ. Okay, big deal. I know everything about it. But if we look back at it in a little different way, we learn more. Right? So that's what I want to do today. I want to talk about this in maybe a little different way. And actually, let me give you an example of when I have done this. Later in the semester, we'll talk more about the life of Christ. And right before Christ dies, he's arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's there praying to his Father. And growing up, when I was your age, I heard that story all the time. And okay, I understand. Christ was praying. He didn't want to die and everything. But as I got older and I started thinking more about what that must have looked like and what that really meant, the story took on a whole new meaning for me. It took on this meaning of, wow, I started to picture Christ like me, like a human who didn't want to die. I can imagine I would not have wanted to die on the cross. And so I picture myself there, and I picture Christ there, and the fear he must have had. And it just makes the story a little more personal to me. So I would challenge you that when you hear stories like this, when you hear them over and over and over, put yourself in the story. Try to find a different way of looking at the story and see if you can find new meanings in it. So I want to talk about this for a little bit. Who did the angels announce the birth of Christ to in the story that we just read? Yes?
Mary?
Not to Mary. They were in the field. Who did they announce it to, Josh? The shepherds. Okay? What do we know? What do you know about shepherds in this time? What kind of people were they?
They were people who, it was like if you were a person that couldn't really find a job anywhere else, the job of a shepherd was basically reserved for those people.
Okay.
And they like took care of the sheep, I guess, seeing as how that's their job.
Okay.
And they weren't really given much respect.
Okay. Matthew, what do you know about the
Many
shepherds?
of them were drunkards.
Drunkards? Okay. Sure. So put yourself in the story. Picture a person that you might think of as a shepherd, right? These were drunkards. These were people of the lowest state, right? This was the lowliest of low jobs, right? No one ever grew up wanting to be a shepherd, right? It was probably terrible pay.
Dangerous.
If any at all. Dangerous.
They're out there in the middle of the night.
If you talk to Pastor Elliot, he'll tell you about how he spent some time in Israel and stayed with shepherds out in the fields. They slept in the field. They didn't even have a house to live in. No kind of shelter at all. He slept in the fields. That's what shepherds did. It was the lowliest of lowly jobs. Just the most outcast of people, right? Who knows what the word outcast means? Josh? Ethan?
Like kind of rejected or sent out by everyone else
Okay.
around him.
Rejected? Yes, absolutely.
You're looked down on by the entire population.
Okay, very good.
Not welcomed by.
Not welcomed by?
Just a little bit out there.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Just like a little bit out there, like away from everyone.
Okay, kind of removed and separate from
Yeah.
everybody, right?
Antisocial.
When I was reading through the materials here, the word that it used was that people had a disdain for them. I thought, disdain, what does that mean? And a synonym it gave was dislike. And I thought, no, that's not right. It was more than dislike, right? The shepherds were more than dislike. I mean, because there's people that you dislike, but they're fine, right? But these people were more than that. I mean, they were completely outcast, shunned. No one wanted anything to do with this, all right? But the angels come to these people, the outcast people, the shepherds out in the field, and they announce the birth of Christ. Why? Why was it the shepherds?
Because they were more understanding than those who weren't. Because
Okay.
they kind of see the whole entire thing, other than the people who have everything and just see what they see, not through their eyes. But the shepherds see everything through everyone else's eyes, sort of.
Okay. Okay, so they might be more receptive to hearing this news. Jake, why do you think?
Maybe because they need someone to save them
Okay.
from having such a terrible job. That kind of sounded weird, but maybe they needed someone who understood them better.
Okay. Okay. Good. Ethan, Esther.
Maybe they were like humble than everybody else,
Okay.
or just a better pig than everybody else.
Okay.
Since they're not all snobby like some of the other people.
Okay. Okay. Good. Noah.
To show that God loves everybody.
To show that God loves everybody. Okay. Matthew.
I remember hearing about this in a sermon, and I'm going to quote Jesus here. He was saying this to one of his prophets not prophets, disciples, and he said that when you draw a line, I will be on the other side.
Okay.
These people.
So he's coming to the people that society are saying are outcasts. Good. Good. Andy.
All right, I remember watching like the whole entire like long movie about it, and I remember that he was kind of like an outcast himself. So if the angels went to the like the people who were I guess rich, if the angels came to the rich people, would his like personal life would have changed? Maybe.
Probably. I would think so. Jake.
Maybe because the rich people would want someone higher than them, so they would have sent people to go and capture the baby and kill him. But the shepherds, they were more understanding of that, and they didn't want to kill him or anything.
As we go through this semester and we talk more about the New Testament and you hear more about the life of Jesus, you will see that the people that Jesus Christ chose to associate with, chose to be around, chose to spend his life with, were people like the shepherds. They were the outcasts. They were the sick. They were the lepers that no one would touch. They were the blind people. They were these people that society had just outcast and said, you are not good enough. Go away from us. And Christ spends his life ministering to those people. That's why Christ came. Christ came for the lowliest of lows. Right? Pastor Casey talked a little bit about testament, and he used the word covenant, right? God made several covenants in the Old Testament. One of which, like say the 10 Commandments, right? I'll be your God, I'll be your leader if you follow these 10 Commandments. Did we do a good job of that, following those 10 Commandments? No. The Old Testament is full of examples of people breaking the 10 Commandments and living a life away from God. Okay? But God sees that. He sees this broken world. He sees how everybody is just going away from him. And he sends his son Christ to those people, to the lowliest of lows, to the people who have sinned the most. He sends his only son, Christ, to them. And as we go on and learn more about Christ, we'll get to the Last Supper and you'll hear about how Christ has come to be a new covenant between God and his people. Pastor Casey.
I just love something. I forgot about this. I was taking a class a couple of years ago, and I had never noticed this before. If you look in chapter 2 of Luke, again, page 1699, everybody in the Old Testament, they knew that the city of David was Jerusalem. Because King David, back in the Old Testament times, he got a big army, he wiped out people who weren't God's people, and he built Jerusalem was already there, but he made it in a big city, he made it a place where his throne was, and he was the chief of the army, he was king, he was everything. And so everybody in the Old Testament knew that the city of David was Jerusalem, because it was the powerful city. However, look at verse 4. Let's read verse 4 together. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea to the city of David called,
Jerusalem.
people in the Old Testament, what? Bethlehem. The city of David is Jerusalem. He built it. Bethlehem is where David grew up, and he was a shepherd as a boy. And so the city of David in the New Testament that God chooses is not where David was powerful and king and wiping out thousands and thousands of people, but it was where David was a shepherd boy. So yeah, I just thought that as you were saying that, heading to the lowly. So they choose the town where David was a lowly shepherd boy instead of a powerful king.